Alright guys, here it is, the end result. I love the way this turned out. I just really like the way it just all ties together really nicely. I was going for that factory look. I didn't want it to look like these were actually chopped. Hopefully you like it and follow along, and if you like it, give me a like. If not, tell me why you didn't like it. Thank you guys. Alright guys, here's going to be a quick tutorial on how to shrink your stock fender flares. Here I've already trimmed it. You can see the transition to this top part to this one is, you can hardly tell it's there. And after I Linex it, you're not even gonna know that it was there. I'm trying to make it look factory. Here's one of the stock ones. You can see the size difference. See how thin this is compared to this one. On this one, I've actually already taken this bottom lip off. So being able to glue this factory lower lip back on is what's going to give you that nice transition, so it doesn't look so obvious that you chopped the fenders. Which for some people, I mean, that's fine, but this is what actually came off of this piece. So cut the top, cut the bottom, take off the lip, glue the lip to the top part like I did here. And here I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. And maybe you can try it yourself at home. Alright, so let's get started. So on this one, I already cut this bottom part off. My suggestion is tape your lines right here. Make sure to tape wherever you're going to make your cut. That's where the other one was. Just because when you go and cut, the way this is angled, these are going to kind of give you like a guide of where to go, because when you go in there with this, it's going to want to like drift wherever. And if you don't have it marked, you're not going to know exactly where you're going. And also you want to go back to your truck and check what angle you're going to need here. Me, for example, let me take you over there. This mark is where I don't want the fender to be in front of this, right? So when I go and measure, I want to line this up. You want to tape this when it's on the fender. You want to make sure that it's behind this. So when you make your cut here, or your angle, you want it to kind of end at the same mark. So kind of like what I did there. Alright, so let's get to chopping. Alright, so like I said, I'm going to use your file to take off all the little burrs. Alright, my dudes, so we finished sanding this part here. I forgot to mention earlier, a good trick is you're going to paint over these anyway, or in my case, I'm going to Linex them. You want to rough this edge up like this. Knock off all the paint, that way you're able to see it when you tape it off. Next, you're going to get your 80 grit sandpaper. All this bottom edge, you're just going to rough it up. The other one you're going to do to this. This is the part that's going to glue. You're going to rough it up. Alright guys, this next part is really important. You really don't want to skip this part. Like I said, I'm using these alcohol wipes that I got from my work. But you want any dirt that's on there. Make sure you're wearing gloves at this point. You don't want to have any of your oily stuff on you. I switched tables too. The other table's full of like crap already on this whole table that I have. Okay guys, here what I'm going to do here is just line up the surfaces that I already sanded and just kind of have my tape all laid out on the side. And what I'm doing is grabbing the tape and taping that top little lower lip on there and squeezing it on there just like that, and then I'm going to pull on that tape and tape it on the fender flare to make it on there tight. You're kind of making a bunch of little clamps. So you're going to notice I'm just going to go all the way around and keep pulling on there, and just make sure you have enough tension on there, and make sure the surface of that lower lip is pretty flat when you go and sand it. That way you don't have to worry about it slipping around when you try to pull on there. See how tight that tape looks on there? That's the way you want it. You pull it down and you tape it down. So yeah, just do this all the way around. Okay guys, here if you notice, I've already taped it all the way around, and I'm just going to kind of zoom in here real quick and show you how tight those little gaps are. Doesn't matter if they're not super duper tight, because you're going to have that glue seeping in there, so that's a good thing. Um, just when you get here to the edge, just make sure it's still pretty lined up because of all that tension, and you'll be alright. Next step. So now in the back, what you want to do is cut these edges of tape over. Just cut them off like this. This part. Okay, here I'm just gonna mix up this JB Weld plastic adhesive. You can find this anywhere. I bought it at Lowe's, so you can also find it at auto parts store. You can order it online. I'll try to put a link for Amazon down in the description. Kind of just mix a little by little at this point, and just kind of pour it in there. It doesn't have to be pretty. This is gonna be a little messy, guys. Just a heads up. If you put tape on both edges there, you can kind of concentrate it more in the middle and then take off the tape. But nah, I didn't really care. And then you're gonna get your little popsicle stick that actually comes with the product and just smear it in there. I do this so I can like have a nice speed in between the little seam there. You're just kind of shoving it all in there. Just gonna go back and forth and do the same for the other side in a bit. Alright, so here I'm just to keep adding it, and you can see this other side. I do the same thing, just kind of line that bead up in there, mix more if you need more, and just pour it in there to drive it up and just back down. Alright, so step number 9, I'm just getting my little fiberglass strip here. You're going to pre-cut this. A tip here is try to get yourself a nice pair of long scissors. I used just a regular, like a box cutter knife, and it makes a mess as you can see there. I threw that strip away. After that, you just want to get it kind of, just work with the strips that hang off of it. They're not going to really be a problem. It doesn't have to be pretty, it's going to be in the back. And just kind of lay it in there, just like I'm doing there. On this one, this particular section, I didn't stop and mix the glue. I just actually poured it on there and mixed it while on the strip. It worked fine for me. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be super neat. Like I said, it's in the back. Just make sure you go with it and just smear it in there good and mix it up well, and you'll be fine. Alright, all I'm doing here is kind of measuring that last piece because when you cut the lower lip, it's not going to be long enough for the whole fender. So you're going to actually have to use the spare plastic there, and you're going to measure what you need with the just regular piece of tape. It actually happens to be the same width as the part I cut off, just because I did that on purpose, so I have a guide, and just kind of trace it on there, or I mean tape it on there, and you're gonna go in there with your jigsaw and just cut it out. Guys, I really recommend you guys get yourself a jigsaw. If you use any other tool, it's gonna be a rotary tool, and it's gonna melt everything since those things spin so fast. So if you really want to go out and buy something, just get that jigsaw. They're $100 right now at Home Depot. It comes with a free battery. Highly recommend it, guys. It's gonna make this job a lot easier. Alright, so as you can see, the piece lines up well. After this, you're gonna have to go back to your sanding, sand it down, make sure everything lines up, and you're gonna glue it back on the same way you did the other part. Alright, let me show you how I bent these guys. So I just got this little piece of metal that I bent kind of at the same angle. And I'm just gonna tape this up on here. So I'm just gonna line up these gaps here. So when I'm taping this, I'm taping and I'm making sure it's taped to the bar, and then I'm pulling this tape down and stretching it across the bottom. You want to leave a little gap here because that's where your mesh is going to go. On this one, no, you don't have to leave gaps on this one. You want to, because it's curved, you want to have more pressure on it. As you can see here, you see how there's a gap? But so for this part, it's basically the same steps, just for the small strip. And add the glue, add the carbon fiber, and that's it. The only extra piece that I did here was that little small section coming up right now. Right there where the seam is, I would add extra carbon fiber. I'm gonna add it right here, a little square piece. I went ahead and added like about 2 or 3 of those little squares just to give it that rigidity. Remember, at the end when everything dries, you can always go back and sand it. So if it looks messy, it's okay. I waited about, like 3 hours. You don't have to. Just have to do some things real quick. Let's take this off and see what it looks like. Oops. Pull it off. And look at that seam. Looks real good. Take a look at the other side. So where we did that patching, kind of pushed together with this clamp. So the way to make it not stick is just put some tape on there. The sticky part, roll it up, put it on here, and just clamp it up. But yeah, man, that transition is pretty good. I'm just gonna sand all this down with some 80 grit. Sand it there. Go to this side. Sand this side down. And you see here, the glue kind of fills up those gaps, just like I did here. I'm probably gonna go back and fill these in. But yeah, now you have a complete fender there. All right, guys. Now we're at this point. I've taken off the tire just because it makes everything a lot easier to work with when you do this. So what I'm doing here is I'm just gonna line this puppy up, tape it on there so I can trace where my cut's gonna be. Okay. After that, get our Sharpie. And we're gonna trace all the way around. Yeah. Okay guys, at this point my video camera on the phone wasn't working properly, so I was able to snap these pictures. Just real quick, unfold down all these little tabs at the bottom of the fender. That way you can get a easier cut in there. And by lining up your fender flare up to the fender, you're going to be able to notice where the tabs that you're going to need are going to go. The top three and the bottom three, you're going to know by pushing your fender flare up to it. Now that front one that you notice the front, I just added that for a future project that I have in mind. I'm going to be trying to see if I can remake a fender liner in there. But here in this next slide, you see they're still all cut out, following that yellow tape line and keeping those little tabs on there. So go ahead and keep those, guys. Alright guys, so I already cut all this right here. So all this has been cut. I used that jigsaw I was telling you guys about. So now I'm getting to the point where I'm going to start bending all these things in. So I'm using this pair of Knipex pliers. I like them because if you notice when you open it, close them, the jaws stay parallel. You can buy something like this at Lowe's. They're kind of a knockoff of these Knipex. I just really like these. Made in Germany. Anyway, so I taped off this little like beak here. Just gonna kind of give me like an idea of how far deep I'm gonna grab. If you see here, you can kind of see what I'm doing. So I'm going all the way around, kind of grabbing it until it gets to right about there, and then I'm just gonna bending in a little bit. Don't bend it in all the way yet. So you just keep going up little by little. Just bend it. So what this is gonna do is gonna give you a lot more rigidity. So it'll be a lot more flimsy if you don't do this little inward curve. And the way I make the cut, it makes it to where you kind of have to bend it in, because this is the size of your fender, so it still needs to go in a little bit, so it'll sit in there nice and snug. So yeah. now it's on there pretty good. So we're just gonna tape it up. I'm gonna tape it up now. Alright guys, kinda late. Nah, it's not late, it's just it gets freaking dark real quick. I'll just tape this off. And when you bend these in, get all these little chips in your paint. Sorry. So I'm just gonna be sanding these down now. Just hit it with a little bit of 80, and then I'm gonna go over it again with some 120. I'm gonna go too crazy here. I just don't want it to get all chipped off and messed up. So yeah, I'm just gonna do that. Then I'm gonna clean it up with a little bit of degreaser and a rag. Then I'm gonna hit it with the alcohol wipes, and I'm just gonna spray some black primer, paint and primer mix. That should just avoid the rust. So yeah, let's get back to it. Okay guys, now what I've done is I put that foam that was initially in here, I just put it back in there. I kind of had to bend these little tabs out, and I want to keep it in there because it does make this a little more rigid. So we're gonna go ahead and leave it in there. All I'm gonna do is trace this line here so I know where to cut, just like that. And we're just gonna cut this foam back a little bit so that we're able to keep it. All right, so there's that foam back in there. It was just this little piece. Or the other way. All I did, trace that line, get this little saw, cut it, put it back in there, and bend those tabs back. That way I can keep that rigidity there from that. So probably a good idea to keep that, guys. I wouldn't get rid of that. All right guys, so I finished cleaning this thing up as best as I can. Oops, shouldn't have touched it. Use WD-40, some microfiber rags, a heat gun. You can do as best as you can. All right, there you go. You see? Less than a minute later, I took off that little spot. So soak it with the WD-40, and then go in with the kind of your knuckle and a dry rag and just start rubbing it. A little spot right there. There we go. They didn't come off, but you'll wiped it down with alcohol. I scuffed up the edges here on the inside of the fender flare. Real quick, I'm going to show you where the tabs go. So you have one of the orange ones in every corner, and you have the blue ones the rest of the way. And also wanted to show you real quick just how good the back looks after you Linex it. It's really hard to tell that this is all glued up. See that? And here you can kind of tell, but whatever. And here's the this little last piece that we joined together. Looks pretty darn good. So I've cleaned this up. I'm gonna hit it again with the alcohol. I'm gonna put the 3M strip on there, and I'll put this on, and we'll be good. All right guys, here's the final product. Of course, here I've already attached the tabs and threw in that little 3M strip. The only thing I haven't done is added the little bolts that go on the side lip. I ordered the ones from Toyota, and I did go ahead and clean up my interior wheel well and added the bed liner. So yeah guys, let me know what you guys think. Hope you liked the video.